I'm not sure my video is on. Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Let me welcome you to the second session for the day. We normally don't run 2 sessions, but on Thursdays we take 2 papers just to be able to make up, especially for the practical aspect of our training, which is completion of the loans application form. I hope you are done with the post-lecture quiz of the first paper. On Thursdays also we have only just 1 quiz. We don't do the pre-lecture quiz, we just do the post-lecture quiz because of the timing. And since this one is actually practical questions, practical session, there isn't much of questions that we can ask you because it's more hands-on than anything else. Right. Having said that, let me formally welcome you to the second paper, the second module, which is a practical session, as you can see on the screen. Practical session on completion of the loan application form. What we'll be looking at is another important component of the training program, and one of the conditions which you have to fulfill in the course of trying to assess the AGMIS loan. If you go to any bank and you're applying for any loan, there is always a form. They always give you a form to complete. So it's one of those forms that we will be looking at closely today, so as to guide you on how to complete the form. Because the experience we've had is that each time we're done with this training and without the benefit of this particular session, there's always a tendency for people when they go for interview to start calling us and asking questions about how to complete the forms and all of those things. And secondly, it helps us when we want to develop the business plan, especially for those who want us to develop a business plan for them. We need for them to complete some aspects of that, complete some forms for us, from where we'll be able to generate the requisite data sorry, please, just let me take a minute to answer to something quickly, please. Sorry for the little break, please. Yeah. So as I was saying, if you go to the bank at any bank and you want to apply for a loan, you are definitely having to be given a form to complete, so some forms to complete. And the same also applies to this loan also. So what we're trying to do is try and much as possible to put our participants through, our clients through, on the expectations in completing that form. And also, secondly, another aspect of the form that we complete is the one on to help us, especially for those whom we are developing the business plan, the materials we require to develop the business plan, the data we need to generate. So we have to design a form that will be able to capture the various fields in the template when you want to develop the business plan. So there are basically two forms which we have we'll be going through today. And for the first time also, we were privy to the pre-approval interview and assessment form, which the bank will give you as part of its interview process. We're able to get a copy of the forms, and so we'll also be discussing it with you so as to give you an idea of what to expect when you go for the interview. Specifically, the interview actually is not a one-on-one interview where they sit down and ask you questions, but it's one that you are given some forms to complete. And two of the forms that they will be completing, we have them here with us, which we'll be looking at for the very first time since we started this training. We have access to that form. And most times we find that because we are not aware of the nature of the form and its content, when our participants go to the bank for interview and they are given the forms, then they begin to call us and ask questions about you. But we went to the bank and got a copy of it, so we'll be putting you people through so as to prepare you for what to expect when you go for the interview. It's also another very straightforward form, really. There isn't much. I'm a little bit surprised when people call to ask questions about it, but we'll just give you a pre-shot of what the form looks like so as to be able to help you, so that even when you go for the training and you don't see, sorry, for the interview and we are not available, it's something that you should be able to go through on your own easily. Right. So having said that, let's begin this paper by looking at its content and what it entails. We'll start by looking at the learning objectives. The learning objectives are highlighted here. So highlight the importance of the AGNIS loan application form. We'll look at the loan application forms, and then, of course, its importance in the course of trying to assess the loan. And then understand the importance of each section of the form. Each section of the form has its own importance, its own bearing, so we'll be able to look at it and then make sure that we don't miss anything out. Explain the expected responses from each section and preparation for interview. In fact, for many of you, I'm sure many of you have already seen the form, because I think we have sent the forms to most of you, so you'll be familiar with the forms. But we have advised that members should maybe keep the forms until after this lecture, so that they'll have a better understanding of its input and what is expected of them. Now, some have completed and returned. And at the end of the lectures, really, as many have done previously, some have called to find out, to ask questions about the form and what they need to do. If we have this benefit of going through this process before that time, then it becomes a little bit more easier for all of you. Okay. So those who already have the forms, we advise that after this lecture, you can now begin the process of completing them. And those who have already completed and returned them, if there's any amendment you want to make or you want to change your mind about what you have completed earlier, you can also feel free to do that. Okay, and then finally, the submission process. There is a process to the submission. You don't just complete the form and forward. You have to submit it through an acceptable process. We'll be looking at all of that. All right, so the loan documentation process. So let's look at the loan documentation process now. The whole essence of this training is how to assess the NASA Microfinance Bank loan facility. That's the whole essence of this training, the 5 days training. How do you assess the loan? And one of the conditions given, mandatory conditions given by the bank, is that you have to attend training. So that is basically one of those things. So there's a process flow for assessing the loan. There's a process flow. There's a sequence of events required before you assess this loan. And one of it, the first is get trained, which is what we are doing now. You have to get trained before you are able to assess the loan. Okay. Secondly, apply for the loan through your EDI. EDI CDM is your EDI. So you have to access the loan, you have to apply for the loan through your EDI. There's interruption. Mute not here. Mute here. All right, so you are expected to complete the loan application form and then submit to your EDI, which will now forward to National Microfinance Bank. So these are three of some of the requirements. Then the fourth one, of course, is create your profile on the NISAL loan portal. And the address is nmfb.com.ng/SME. This particular one is relevant more for those who are developing the business plan on their own. Interruption. You just popped up. Is it higher happens or that's or just my?
No, it's just your own.
The only one that has that kind of experience.
Yes.
Is it the system or the other things hanging?
I think there are other things. When you finish, I will check it. See, I will say anything if I can do.
All right. Okay, so this is, sorry for the little break. We had a little network issue just now. So here, this item 4, creating your profile on the NASA loan portal. This is essential for those who are developing the business plan themselves. Okay, you'll be expected to create your own profile. The web address has been given. But if we're developing the business plan for you, it will be our responsibility to create a profile on the portal and then do all the necessary things that are essential to us developing a business plan. So we're going through it, going through the forms which we have developed for that in that respect, and then we'll see how we'll complete it. As we're also doing that, that will be an advice for those of you who are completing the business plan yourself to be able to know how to go about the process. Okay, all right. So the AGNIS mini business plan questionnaire. For our own purpose, we developed an AGNIS mini business plan questionnaire from which we are able to generate the data required to develop the business plan. Yeah, I mentioned this earlier. I said there are 2 critical forms which are mandatory, but for our own purpose, if we are to develop the business plan for you, we also had to develop our own form questionnaire in the form of a questionnaire, which we ask for you, want you to complete. And then it's from this questionnaire that we're able to generate the data we require to be able to complete the various fields on the template, or on the templates used for developing the business plan. So what we'll do here now is we'll go through that forms together so as to be able to explain to you the expectations of that form. Okay. Right. So this is the AGNIS mini business plan questionnaire. I want to believe that you have all seen this questionnaire before. And if you have not, it's one of the questionnaires that you need to complete for us if you want us to develop your business plan for you. So here on the top, we're saying that this questionnaire should be please completed in capital letters. The questionnaire is divided into different sections. The first is individual information, that's personal info, individual info. The second is educational qualification, then business info, details of business ownership, details of staff, and marketing. So let's go through it one by one, so that session by session, so that I'll be able to explain what it entails. They are actually straightforward, not much ambiguity here, but let's look at it and see, get some understanding of what it entails. So first, individual info, you ask for the name of the applicant, give us a surname and then your other names, and gender, And then, of course, you have to affix your passport size photograph. Then home address. Home address, of course, is where you live. Where you live, give us the street name of the street, and then the number, and then the area and the city. But unfortunately, most of our cities do not have the privilege of street names and numbers. So that's where the third question comes in: closest landmark. Wherever it is that you live, it's likely to be one prominent landmark or the other. So you let us know what that landmark is. It could be a bank by the corner of a street, or a church, a mosque, a telecom mast, or any of those things, really, a filling station and the rest. If you see the address we give for our own offices in Utako and Bogolada, you find that we also intonated it with a landmark. If you're coming to Jabi, you will say it's behind a Tana filling station. If it's in Jabi, you will say it's beside True Venture, where Waterboard Corner Shop. So it's that kind of description. So it tells us. So at least if we're trying to locate your home with that kind of landmark, we can be able to ask questions and give us some idea and a bearing as to where the location is likely to be. Okay, then date of birth, you give us your date of birth, state of origin, your phone number, your email address, all of it in capital letters, please, okay? And then your BVN. Your BVN also is very important. I think we have discussed the issue of BVN earlier. We did indicate that the loan is collateral free, but collateral free and without guarantor. But your BVN stands for that purpose, because with your BVN, so long as you have a banking relationship in the country, if there's a default on the loan, the bank will be able to track you down. Okay, so that is, I mean, of course, the CBN has given banks the powers for any customer who defaults on his facility, for them to be able to trace him with his BVN, if he's doing business with any other bank, for them to be able to access that bank and then be able to recoup their money. So that's the importance of the BVN. Your BVN, of course, will not be used to take your money illegally unless they have access to your PIN. There's likelihood of anybody using your BVN just to collect your money is not there. So we try to assuage people for that understanding in case people have fears that if they give their BVN, they're likely to lose their money or something of that nature. All right, then mode of identification. Here we have, in this country, we have different types of modes of identification. We have the national ID card, we have an international passport, we have driver's license, voter's cards. All these are means of identification, recognized means of identification in the country. So you can use any of them that you select. And then, of course, with the mode of identification, each one has an ID number also. So let us have the ID number of that mode of identification. Then, of course, your email address, we've already talked about it. You leave out the password. All right. Under educational qualification here, you give us the name of the institution you attended, last attended, qualifications acquired, your course of study, then the dates that certificate was awarded. Preferably just give us the year of award, the 2000, 2010, 2015, or whatever. Don't have to give us the date and the months and all that. Business information, do you have a registered company? Yes or no? Name of the company. Here, whether you have a registered company or not, under name of company, I want us to give us a name, okay? For example, whether it's registered or not, I want you to identify, give us some kind of name which you use on a temporary basis. So using the name of one of our participants, Matthew, which I can see here, you can simply see Matthew Ventures or Matthew Farms or Matthew Poultry or Matthew Bakery as the name of your company is accepted, okay? So, but definitely you have to give us a name, whether it's registered or not registered. Then the address of the company, if you don't have, it's not registered, you don't have a location, you can give us your home address, that will also suffice. And then of course the landmark, again, as I described earlier. Here, states, it should be the state where the business is located, then your nationality, type of business, of course, here there are different types of businesses, and then of course the business sector. Let's scroll forward a bit and then look at the different types of business activities that we have here so that we get that differentiation. Here you can see type of business activities, okay? We have poultry, we have fishery, you have tailoring, furniture making, printing, catering services, hairdressing, bakery, organic cream making, ICT, animal husbandry, carpentry, masonry, curb and electric pole making, block making, welding and fabrication, agri and agro-allied processing. All these are business activity, which is recognized by the bank and then funded. Then, of course, in terms of sector, you have agriculture, you have fashion and design, you have ICT, media and publishing, beauty and cosmetics, mining, hospitality, cosmetic, beauty and makeup artistry, cottage industry. So for business activity now, poultry, fisheries, for example, fall under agriculture, which is a sector. Tailoring falls under fashion and design. Then furniture comes under things like the cottage industry. Organic cream making falls under cosmetic, beauty and makeup artistry. And animal husbandry also falls under agriculture and down the line. So that is how we differentiate between business activity and sector. So let's go back to our form now and then continue. Yeah, right. Okay, so that is a type of business, and then the business sector. I've given a breakdown of that. Stage of business, is a business a startup or existing? The number of years. If it's a startup, then you tick startup. If it's existing, if it's not a startup, it's existing, you tick existing. Then, of course, if it's existing, you give out the years of operation. How many years has it been existing? Is it 1, 2, 3, 5, or 10 years? You let us know. Business vision, business mission, and then objective. So what is your business, the vision of your business? Well, most people have challenged writing business vision, but when I'm sure you are familiar with visions of organizations and companies and corporations. If you see their brochures, one of the first things you are able to see, is vision statement. Vision statements, of course, says what the vision of the organization is. What's the larger picture? Where does the organization want to go? Where is it aspiring to be? Okay. If, for example, you are into poultry farming, the FCT, and then you have vision, you are asked to describe the vision of your poultry business. You could pick something to the effect that to be the largest mechanized poultry farm in the FCT. That is your vision. That is where you want to be in the next 10, 20 years. Okay, that's how you look at yourself. The largest mechanized poultry farm in the FCT. Not too long ago, somebody, former legislator, took us to his poultry farm in Kuje, and it was such a massive farm, fully mechanized. Okay, but because of the location of the place and then the need for constant power, he couldn't get it off. So that could be a challenge. So that could maybe be the kind of poultry farm you intend to have. Okay, that could easily have been the vision of that poultry farm. He wanted to sell it up to a foreigner who came trying to see how he can invest in the country. And we were there to help with the assessment of that poultry farm. You know, so you can take that kind of vision and adopt it to be the largest mechanized poultry farm in the FCT. And then what's going to be the mission? Your mission normally is how you intend to achieve that vision. Okay, the journey, how you are going to, what you are going to do to become the largest mechanized poultry farm in the FCT. So in writing your mission statement, you could say to adopt technology in achieving the goals of being the largest mechanized poultry farm in the FCT. Okay, so what you intend to do to become the largest mechanized poultry farm is to use the instrumentalities of technology to attain that goal. Now, when you are writing a vision statement, most vision statements start with to be that, to be the largest mechanized. So that's how you normally write your vision statement. Then business objectives. What is your business objective? If you are in poultry business, of course, first, straightforward, the business objective of that poultry farm is to supply eggs and birds or chicken or poultry meat to the population or to your customers or to the general population. That is first and foremost what that objective is. You won't go into poultry business for the purpose of just rearing birds and then letting them be. You go in with the purpose of making a profit, making a sale and a profit. And what is it that the poultry farm is supposed to produce? It's supposed to produce eggs, it's supposed to produce birds, and then so you either sell them as live birds for poultry meat, or processed chicken for also consumption. So that's how you attend to that section, and that could apply to any other line of business whatsoever that you want to go into. All right, then do you belong to a cooperative society? Yes or no? Like I did say in the first paper that we took, cooperative societies are very common in the country. Most of our organizations and ministries and companies, most organizations have cooperative societies, and most members of staff are also involved in those cooperatives because of the very many benefits they have. So if you belong to a cooperative society, you indicate yes or no, then you give us the name of that cooperative society. Details of business ownership. Here we're looking at the structure of the business. Is it a registered company with shareholders, or is it a sole proprietorship where the ownership is just one single individual? Okay, so if it's a sole proprietorship, you simply write your name, and then the ownership share percentage in shareholding is going to be 100%. So if it's Matthew Ventures and you are the sole proprietor, sole owner, you simply write your name, and then of course 100%. But if it's a registered company, then the expectation is that you should have other shareholders who have different shareholding in that company. So you list out the names of those who are there and then the shareholding. If it's using the example of Matthew Nigeria Limited, you give your name and then you own 50% shares. Then another friend or relation has 25, another one has 25, making it 100%. So that is how you attend to that section. All right, details of staff. Whatever organization you run, whatever business you run, there's always a tendency, tendency that there definitely will be somebody that will work with you. You can't be the only person. In poultry farm, of course, you have the farm manager, you have the financial clerk, then you have the laborers who work the fields and things like that. Then you have the sales people and then the driver of the delivery van who takes the product to the market, and then the salespeople who sell the products and then keep the finances. So you list the names of each of the staff, and then you indicate their areas of responsibility. Marketing. Here we're looking at the type of product. If it's a poultry farm, of course, the type of product is eggs and then chicken meat or processed meat or live birds. Cost of production. What's the cost of producing these products? When you're looking at the cost of production, you're looking at the totality of the expenses that go into producing one item here. So for a poultry farm, the cost of production, of course, will be the cost of the feeds, the cost of the water, cost of the energy that you generate to keep the birds warm, and all of those things, the crates and all of that aggregated gives you an idea of the cost of production. Then selling price of the product. By the time you look at the expenses that go in, that will help you determine how much you'll also be able to sell. Okay, to rear a chicken, to rear a poultry, chicken, you know the quantity of feeds that you require, because birds, chicken are eaten on a minute-to-minute basis. So you know the quantity of bags you require to be able to produce one crate of egg. So you now be able to fix the price. Or if you are using a set price for those who are in the same line of business, you see how you are also able to fit your own price to be able to fall within that range, so that you don't overprice yourself out of the market. So for that, maybe for poultry, you could say you selling cost of your product could be 800 naira per crate. Okay, the best maybe 1,000 or 1,200, so that those who are selling will also sell for maybe about 850 or there about 900. In fact, just yesterday and this morning, we were seeing all over the press poultry farmers complaining seriously about the scarcity of feeds, and then the projection and their own fear is that because of the cost of production during this Christmas period, festive period, they are likely to sell just one chicken for close to about 10,000 naira. So you can imagine the cost if you are selling one bird for 10,000 naira, how much you'll be selling a goat or a ram. Okay, so these are major challenges that, but all of these, of course, are a function of the cost of production. Targets or the target customers, if you are selling in the FCT, of course, the 8 to 10 million people in the FCT will be a target because you want to sell as wide as possible. Then location of your business, of customers, of course, they are all within FCT, or if you are concentrating only for a specific area like Karo, Buari, or Gogolada, you indicate the tag, that's the location of your customers, okay? Right, so let's look at the second page now. Here we're expected to do a SWOT analysis. When you had your feasibility studies and business plans 2 days ago on Tuesday, I'm sure you came across a SWOT analysis, okay? The facilitator discussed with you, I'm sure in more details, how you are doing a SWOT analysis. SWOT analysis, of course, are things that are requirements anytime you are trying to do any kind of business. You'll be expected to do a SWOT analysis. Okay? And SWOT analysis is about looking at the strengths, and then the weaknesses, the opportunities, and threats within which your business is likely to operate. SWOT stands for, SWOT is an acronym which stands for strength, S for strength, W for weaknesses, O for opportunities, and threats. So any business you want to go into, you'll be advised to do a SWOT analysis. You'll be advised to look at what are the strengths of this business. What is my strength and that of my workers in this business? Where do we stand? Where do we position ourselves if we want to go into this line of business? What are those things that we believe are areas of strength? What are those things that are our areas of weaknesses? Okay, strengths and weaknesses are internal to you, internal to the business, internal to the company. Okay, those are things that within yourself, you know that, look, we have these major areas of strength, areas of advantage. And then, of course, we have these other areas where we don't really have much of strength. They are more like weaknesses to us that we need to be able to up and then see how we'll be able to compete fairly with those who are already in that same line of business. Then opportunities. Opportunities and threats are external to you, external to the business, external to the company. These are things that are not normally within your own purview, within your own powers. Okay, they are extraneous to you. There are things that are dictated by other factors within the environment which you have little control over. So opportunities could be those circumstances that you run into that turn out to be favorable for your line of business. And then threats, of course, are those things like insecurity, that weakness, that could threaten your line of business. Okay, so you should be able to identify what those things are before you start any business. So let's, using the example we have been using with respect to poultry, for example, if we are to do a SWOT analysis of somebody who wants to go into poultry business, okay, what are the likely strengths and weaknesses and opportunities for anybody who wants to go into that line of business? First, let's take the strengths. Okay, you want to go into a poultry business, and then you look at yourself, you look at the business, and then of course your conclusion is that yes, we have major advantage, we have major strengths in this line of business. And what could those strengths be? That you have highly qualified and dedicated staff. Okay, the people who you have working for you, they're highly qualified, they know very much about poultry farm, they've worked in similar areas before, they've had that basic experience required for running a poultry farm. So they're highly qualified and highly dedicated. Okay, then of course that you have excellent managerial skills. Okay, because you have also similarly, you have a background in agric as a first degree or diploma in agriculture, and you worked in a poultry farm previously. So you have that kind of excellent managerial marketing and managerial skills. You know how to market things like that. You know how to market birds. You know how to market the egg products of a poultry farm. Okay, so you look at that, you could not decide that, yes, these are areas of strength because we know how to market this line of business effectively. Then you have strong technical know-how of the business. You have strong technical know-how of the business. You know how to position yourself. You know how the competition is. You know all of the challenges that anybody can run into running a poultry business. So that is an area of strength for you. Okay? So by the time you look at all of these things, you say, yeah, you decide that, yes, no, with this kind of qualities that we have, we are definitely capable of running this business successfully. Then what are the weaknesses? Weaknesses could be in the area of poor distribution network. Okay, because of the situation you find out, so you don't have delivery vans. So how do you distribute your eggs when they produce? Okay, or take the birds to the market? Okay, are you going to wait for people to just come to the farms to buy these things? Because there are competitions around the place, so you might need to have them. So poor distribution network might be a challenge there. The insufficient fund for expansion, and that's why you want to take this loan facility. Okay, you've started small, and then of course you're already progressing. You're having many customers, but you don't have the money to progress, to expand the business. So that could be a weakness. Insufficient funds for expansion, that becomes a weakness in that area. Then unpopularity of your brand, because you are just starting, people don't know you much in that area with respect to the kind of products that you have. Okay, so you are not very popular, your brand is not very popular. There are other competitors within the environment who are better known because they've been there for quite some time and they've been able to develop that customer base, which you are just simply trying to break into. So that could be also a weakness for you. Then what are the opportunities? Remember, I said opportunities are external to you. They are externals, okay? You don't have them under your control, but some of them could be very favorable for your line of business, and that is why you want to take advantage of it and go into it. So if you are into poultry farming today, you will know that one of the major advantages or opportunities that are available for people who are going to poultry farming is a very favorable government policy on agriculture. Government has very, very favorable policy. Okay, it has come up with all manners of policies to favor agriculture. It has banned the importation of poultry products. So that's poultry birds that are processed chicken or eggs. Okay, so with that kind of situation, you know that no, that is a very favorable government policy. It has banned the importation of rice. So if you are going to import rice production, you know that there is a market there because government has banned the importation of rice. Okay, and of course you have to go into rice processing or food processing. You know, government has banned most of all those kind of flowers coming in. So people want to take advantage of all of those things. So that is a wonderful opportunity there for you. Then, of course, there is an already existing market. The appetite of Nigeria has been spiced up so much that the moment that large market, there is a big market for people to be able to, for products to be able to move in and fill. Okay, and then with the ban on importation of poultry products, you know that you have the market available for you to try and key in and then carve out your own niche of that market. So that already existing market is a major opportunity. We have over 200 million Nigerians, and of course, from time we have already used to eating chicken and eggs and all of that. So the market is existing, ready-made market for that line of business. Then, of course, there is an all-year-round demand for the product. Chicken and eggs are not seasonal products. These are not things that people eat only during festivities or only during on Sundays only or during one function or the other. It's an all-year-round market for it. Okay, young children are being encouraged to eat egg because of the proteinous value of it, and then of course because of all manners of ailments these days, elderly people are advised to watch their cholesterol level. So, and they're advised to eat white meat, and white meat constitutes egg. White meat, constitutes of chicken and fish. So, with that kind of market, the opportunities are readily available for anybody who wants to go into poultry farming. Then, what are the threats? Like I said, anything that we do in life, when we talked about in the very first paper we did on entrepreneurship, there are threats within any kind of business that we go into. Okay, in the poultry business, for example, using the poultry as our line of example again, you find that there are stiff competition because the market is there. There's a vast market there because of the very, very favorable government policy in agriculture. So there is stiff competition. Many people are going into poultry farming. So the competition is stiff. So if you want to go into it, then of course you should be prepared for the competition. You should be prepared to be able to break in and carve your own niche there. To be able to break in and get yourself a piece, a pie of that market. So that is one of the threats that you have for people who want to go into poultry business. Then, of course, we have threats of theft and insecurity. That is a major area of problem that we have in the country today. Okay, insecurity is a major challenge. Okay, today most people have been driven off their farms because of bandits, because of kidnappers. Okay, today we hear of cattle rustling. Not just cattle rustling, we hear of bandits invading poultry farms and cutting away birds and eggs. So people are afraid to go to their farms. Okay, so if you have your farms on the outskirts of the cities or in local communities, then of course you know that there is a major threat for you in that area. Okay, so that is one of the major challenges that we have, major threats that we have in that regard. Then of course disease prevalence. Okay, poultry is one line of business that is very susceptible to diseases. Okay, the avian flu, the bird flu, day-old chicks. You have to start from day-old chicks, and day-old chicks are very vulnerable to this kind of diseases. At that age, they require a lot of care. They require a lot of veterinary visits from vet doctors to continue to check on their condition. So you could start with maybe 1,000 birds. You'll be lucky by the time they get to gestation period, and you find that you have up to like 500 birds still left with you. Okay, so these are things that are threats in the poultry market. So that's how you do your SWOT analysis. This same template I've given, you can use it for almost any other kind of business, in the fashion industry, in the farming, or whatever line of bakery, or whatever line of business you want to go into, or catering, or whatever line of business. This stress, you can do the same analysis, following the same pattern, following the same terminology to be able to get the responses you want and discussing the SWOT analysis. All right. So I hope that is clear. All right. So let's look at the business competition. So name a competitor. Of course, when you want to go into that line of business, you find that in your own environment, there are people who are already in that business. There's very little, there's very unlikely that you won't have people already in the poultry business in that area. So if you know their names, you can write, but if you don't simply say other poultry farmers, and that will do. Type of products, of course, they only use two types of products in the poultry farm, eggs and birds, okay? Either live birds or processed chicken. So those are the type of products. Location of a competitor, of course, it has to be within your own environment. FCT, or it's in Buhari, Gogolada, or Karo, or wherever, you can be able to identify who your competitor is within that location. What is your competitor's cost of production? These are things you can find out, because before you go into any line of business, there's always a tendency for you to do your own checks, to do your own market survey, or to check with the competitors around that environment to find their own cost of production, okay, and then the cost at which they sell their own products, to see if you'll be able to come in, or if you are going to undercut them, or come in at the same level, and then see how you are able to compete with them, okay, so that you are able to take a share of the market of them. Okay, but the tendency most time is that when you have a situation like that, you try to undercut so that at least you'll be able to break into that market. What makes your product different or unique from other competitors? Okay, in other lines of business, of course, you'll be able to indicate that, but if you're in poultry, there's very little difference between chicken from one farm, chicken from one farm, or egg from one farm or the other. Okay, can you mute again? Okay, so now we're looking at company assets. What are the company assets, existing company assets? If you have a company, of course, the company is every likelihood to have some kind of assets, okay? Could have some machineries which you use in the production. If you're into sewing, for example, you're likely to have sewing machines and the like. If you are into bakery, you're likely to have all of the equipment required for by the bakery, the baking pans and the rest of those things, the ovens and the like. Of course, if you're catering, of course, you're likely to have all of those, the stove, the cooker, the deep freezers, and all of those things which that line of business requires. But if you don't, and you are just but you don't have any, you're just trying to start a business, even your own personal vehicle becomes part of the company assets. You can indicate it. You have a car, you can write it out as part of your company assets. Okay, doesn't have to be that you must have a company. Okay, and all of those things that are personal to you, all those assets that are personal to your laptop and things like that, can all be listed as your company assets. Okay. Cash at hand in bank, you can leave those ones out. Customer debt, leave that out. Monthly expenses, and then the items itemized there are rent, there are administrative costs, there are salaries, there are utilities, raw materials, and the like. Okay, when it says monthly expenses, of course, if you're looking at rent, how much in Nigeria, we know that no landlord collects rent on a month-to-month basis. So they always collect on yearly basis. So if you know how much you pay per annum, if for a land you are renting or leasing, an office, a shop you are renting, it costs you about 500,000 or 450,000. What you need to do here is just divide it by 12 to get the monthly amount, which means that if you are paying on a month-to-month basis, this is how much you are going to pay. Okay, administrative costs. These are things that you pay on the day-to-day requirement for running your office. Could be the stationaries, could be the ink, the toners, the pens, the biros, and all of those things. So that's those are your administrative costs. Salaries, of course, that's the wages you pay your workers. You know how much you pay your workers on a monthly basis. Utilities, of course, your electricity bill, your water bill, and all of those things. You know how much you do that on a month-to-month basis. Raw materials, of course, in poultry farm, you know how much you pay for feeds and the like. You know how much you pay for beds. So you are able to indicate that one for us. Loan requirement, loan amount, how much you require. You know what you require. The maximum for startups, say ranges from 1 to 5 million, and for existing business between 1 to 5 to 10 million. So you indicate the amount you want. Tenure normally is 7 years, but if you want it lower, of course, it can be lower for you. But maximum number of years is 7 years. Any existing loan, they want to know, because of they wouldn't want individuals to be burdened with so much loans. So you indicate how much if you have an existing loan from another bank or other microfinance banks, you let them know. So and then you tell them the expiry date, when is it going to be expiring, when is the loan going to be expiring, so that they'll be able to know. Name of the financial institution. So if you say yes, then of course you let us know the name of the financial institution. Loan utilization. How do you intend to utilize the loan? Okay, on rent, for example, how much are you going to utilize on rent? Okay, if you are leasing the land, you could say 1 million, 1.4 if it's an office space, a shop space, where you want to set up your tailoring outfit. Of course, you indicate 450,000, you highlight that. Administrative costs, those are, I just described those items just now. Utilities, how much you pay for lights in your farm, in your shop, workshop, and the rest of those things, you highlight that. The machineries, how much do you pay for the machineries? Are you going to pay for the machineries and the equipment, and then the servicing costs and all? The raw materials also the same thing. So that's you indicate there how you intend to utilize that loan facility. And of course, will be expected to give the total amount for each of those items. Okay. All right. Then finally, referees. Okay, we'll require 2 referees from you, 2 character referees, their phone numbers and addresses. because you can be sure the bank will want to contact them to maybe discuss with them, find out if they know you and they can vouch for you. They are character referees. They are not supposed to be there as guarantors because it's collateral free and guarantor free. So that is all for this form. Okay, that's all for this form. Before we continue to the next one, what we want to do is we'll open the floor so that in case you have any question to ask, with respect to this form that we have looked at, we can ask the question so that we can give the clarifications we require, and then we'll proceed. All right, thank you. You have any questions? You have any questions available to take your question?
I want to talk.
Yeah, Divine. Yeah, Divine, unmute your mic and then you can ask your question. Divine Olga, you can unmute your mic and ask your question.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon. Okay, that's Matthew.
Yes, sir.
All right, go ahead. You have a question?
Yes, sir. My question is regarding on the agriculture sector.
Yeah.
You lay emphasis on poultry and fishing. Does that mean this in farmer, like cultivation, they're exempted?
From what?
From the loan, like farming business?
I haven't insinuated that. I was just giving an example, and I say it's an example that can be applicable to any line of business whatsoever. I mentioned catering, I mentioned processing, all those are acceptable. And then, of course, I mentioned crop farming also. So anyone, any line of business, yeah. Even tailoring and the rest, I'm sure I mentioned tailoring also. So no section is exempted, or everything is applicable. But I'll just give an example, an easier example that we could all take a cue from. So that's what I tried doing basically here.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Yeah, Divine, can I unmute and ask your question? Okay, no questions, so we go on. All right, so we'll go on to the next section now, the next form, which we'll be looking at. All right, so we'll be looking at the next form now, how to complete the loan application form and creation of portal, profile on the loan application portal. Here we are indicating that if you approach the NASA Microfinance portal, you'll find two loan application form templates. The first is owned by NISAL itself. Our finding with that regards to that form is that it's a little bit complex. But then there's a second one, which was developed by a partner, an IT partner of NISA. It's called Simplified Credit. That's what most EDIs use. And that's what we advise most people who want to create their own business plan to also utilize, okay? It is more straightforward, so that's what we'll be looking at. So we'll have a copy of that form here, so we'll be looking at it to discuss more about that. Right, the form is divided into 4 sections, the personal detail section, then the business detail section, and then the loan utilization details, and then the training details. Every section of this form is important, and then you are expected to complete the forms in capital letters. So let's go ahead and look at the form now. All right, so this is it on our screen. This is in its full color code, but many of the ones that you might be receiving might be in black and white, but they are all the same, okay? So like I said, the loan application form, we are expected to complete it in capital letters. He has 4 different sections: the personal details section, the very first one, then the business details, then the loan utilization details, and then finally the training details. So let's start from the personal details. It's more like the previous questionnaire, applicant asking for the applicant's name of the applicant and gender, home address, state of origin, state of residence. Here, the only difference is that you could be from state A and then you are resident in state B, or you are from state A and then of course resident in state B. You're from Kaduna State and then resident in Kano State, or you're from Kaduna State and still resident in Kaduna State. So whichever one it is, will let us have it. And then the age bracket, your phone number, then your email address, the name of bank, and then your bank account, own personal bank account, not company bank account now. Then again, BVN. BVN is, as I said earlier, very important. You let us have your BVN. So business details, name of business enterprise, whether it's registered or not. Like I gave the example of using Matthew earlier, you have to give us a name, whether it's registered or not. Remember, the loan is a personal loan, so it's not necessarily being given to a company per se. But the expectation is that by the time you take the loan and you start running the business, you should be able to register it under a company so that you also become a corporate citizen that pays taxes, okay? So business address, you give us the name, the address where the business is located. If you don't have one, you can give us your home address also, which is acceptable. Company bank account, this one, you leave it open for now. By the time you are invited by National Microfinance Bank for interview, you will normally be given an account opening form, which you complete. And when you complete and your account is open, they'll give you an account number. So that's what you are expected to put there. And then the name of the bank, of course, is National Microfinance Bank. Type of business activity, we have already looked at this earlier, where we listed things like poultry, like fishery, like tailoring, like carpentry, catering, organic cream making. All these are business activities. And then, of course, the sector, we looked at sectors like agriculture, fashion and design. We looked at ICT, media and publishing, and a host of others. So you get to know the difference between the business activity or line of activity and then the sector of that business. All right, startup, is the business a startup? We discussed that at length already. If it's yes, you say yes. If it's no, say no. If it's yes, if it's no, then it means it's existing business. So you give us the number of years of operation. Right, so loan, let's go to the loan application section now. This is the most important section in this form. Here, the bank wants you to make a proposal. Yeah, well, first and foremost, they ask 3 subheadings here. Loan amount. The loan amount, you have to wait until you complete this required equipment and working capital equipment before you know the amount to put, because you can see listed there against the equipment and then the working capital amount, all the way down. By the time you compute the various amounts, that's when you get to know the loan amount, and then that's when you fill it. Purpose of the loan, if it's a startup, you say it's for startup. If it's an existing business, then you indicate that is for expansion. And then the loan tenure is 7 years, as I said, but if you want it lower, you indicate, but the maximum period that can be given is 7 years. All right, so having said that, let's look at how you complete this section on required equipment and details of working capital. Okay, let's scroll to the front and have a look at that. All right, so here, here we have some literature on how to complete the loan application form. Let's look at one business in agri sector and then one in SME, so that we can see how to complete the loan application, loan utilization section. So let's use again the poultry business as our example, because it's typical. A typical poultry farmer may need the following: to lease land at 1.2 million. Okay, lease land at 1.2 million. Construction of pens. These are necessary things if you want to go into poultry. 1 million, set aside 1 million for that. Battery cages, that's, you know that the poultry farm needs a lot of warming at all times. So you either have generator or you have batteries to power the plants, to power the electricity generating system in the farm. You could have borehole, because borehole is, water is very, very critical. So you need to have borehole in case you don't have public power water supply, which is a common feature in the country. And especially when you are looking at farms, definitely you know that you need to have a borehole. Generator, critical to power electricity in the farm or power the borehole. Then egg crates. Egg crates are important because when your birds start laying eggs, you need crates to put them inside. Then delivery vans. Delivery vans are, of course, very, very important and critical because you have to deliver your product to the market. Okay, if you are going to go into processed chicken, then of course you need deep freezer, and that is also very important. So this could be a list of equipment, though some people may need more. We'll look at some other, when we look at some other example, we'll see also how we do the breakdown for that. Then, of course, the working capital. For working capital, you could have the following for the poultry farm. You have the staff salary, you have signed maybe 270,000. You have broilers, which are the beds, like raw materials. Because if you have to have a poultry farm, you have to have, of course, the raw materials for that. And the raw materials are your beds. They come in broilers or layers, even at day level. 500,000 naira each. Utilities, which cover the cost of electricity, water, and others. And then, of course, all the kind of bills that AMAC and other council areas are charging, according to about 100,000. You set aside 100,000 for that. Fees, like I say, fees are very, very important and critical in the poultry business. Of course, the birds have to eat on a day-to-day basis, minute by minute, hour by hour, and all of that. So you need fees, and because of the importance, is the highest amount here, 1.530 million. So when you sum up everything, it should give you the total loan amount, and that's what you'll be required request from the bank. All right, so let's go back to our forms again. All right, so that's how you complete that required equipment section. Like we said, for the poultry, looking at land lease of land, which we say was 1.2 million. We're looking at construction of pens, chicken pens at 1 million. We're looking at battery cages, borehole, generator, egg crates, delivery van, freezer, all of those things and the amount. And then the working capital, we're looking at staff salary, we're looking at broilers, layers, and the like. So those ones are also itemized. Fees and then utilities and fees, all those are itemized, and then the amount. It's when you total out the amount, then that you have the loan amount. All right, so let's go back to that section again and look at some other expectations. All right, we've talked about if you want to process the chicken, then of course you have to add the deep freezer in it, knowing that if you want more revenue, you have to not just sell only the birds, but also to process the birds, which, and of course, anything that you process is value addition, and that could give you more revenue. Right. So from the example of poultry farm giving, the total loan amount is about 8.5 million. Okay, that is for the equipment. While the working capital comes to about 2.9 million. Okay, about 31% of the total loan. Okay, so using the example of rice milling for it again. Sorry. Something we missed out. Yeah. Okay. All right. Sorry, there was something I missed out. In completing that that section, sorry, the required equipment and then the working capital. There's a point I need to make here. the bank has fixed it in such a way that the funding model that it has adopted is that it wants to fund the equipment, that's the assets, fully as with the highest amount of money, and then the capital. So for the capital, for the equipment, it's setting aside, it's established what we call the golden rule, and then it's providing for equipment, is providing 70% of the funds that you want to borrow will go into equipment, and 30% for the working capital. Okay, so if you're taking 10 million, for example, 70% of that 10 million is 7 million. That will go into the equipment. So all of those items which we listed, the construction of pens, battery cages, borehole, generator crate, delivery vans, all of those items are seen as working capital, lease of land as working capital. So you add 70% of that amount of money, the 10 million will go into that. And then the working capital, that one will take 30%. Okay, 30% will go for working capital. And that is why we're saying here that the total equipment, total amount of loan is 8.5 million. Working capital here is 70%. And then the working capital, 2.9%, is comes to about 31%. Okay, so we have to have that at the back of our mind. If we take the example of an SME here, rice processing, we should know that rice processing is not the same as rice farming. Rice processing is the value chain of rice farming. That is the processing business. Okay, for that one, you will require equipment, and the kind of equipment you require include the stoning machine. You need a rice polishing machine, and the like. That will take 70% of the amount of money you are requesting for the rice processing. And then your working capital, on the other hand, will be used to purchase paddy rice, pay salaries, utilities, and administrative expenses. That will take 30% of the loan. Okay, so that is something that we need to differentiate. Okay, using the example again of catering services. Okay, so that we don't limit ourselves only to farming. Catering services also, the kind of equipment you need will include industrial cookers, chillers, deep freezers, food display units, kitchen utensils, serving plates, okay, and furniture, which if you do the breakdown in your business plan, that is what constitutes the working, the equipment, required equipment, while the working capital will be for rent, will be for salaries, foodstuff, and fuel. Okay, so these are things that we need to have at the back of our mind. Okay? One of the key things that we also should have at the back of our mind is to differentiate, how to differentiate what is working, what is equipment, and what is working capital. We should learn how to classify them as appropriate, because when we go for interview and we don't identify them as appropriate, we could run into a problem. And the example I like to give you is that when you are talking about furnishing, you should know that it is different from furniture. Okay, well, furniture is the equipment, furnishing, of course, is working capital. For example, of giving of somebody who went for interview and wrote furnishing instead of furniture, and then of course the money was cut down on account of that. Okay, all right. Another thing that we need to note also with respect to working capital is that it is not normally given for the whole year. The bank will only fund it for 3 months. Okay, it's expected that after 3 months the business should be able to take over and start taking care of the working expenditure. So if you indicate that staff salary is 450,000, for example, then you should be able to explain that for 3 months, what you need to pay FISA is 30,000 naira, okay, per month for each of those staff. And thereafter, the business will be self-sustaining to take care of your staff salaries. If you are in poultry and for fees you indicate 1 million and the bag of fees is 10,000 naira, you should be able to also explain how many bags you require for the 3 months period. Okay, so that is something we should have at the back of our mind. All right, so let's go back to our forms again, the AGNIS loan form. All right, so we have seen that the last section of that loan utilization asks source of repayment. That's where are you going to repay the loan from? It's a business loan. So you're not expected to pay from your salary if you're a worker. No, you're expected to pay from the process of the profit of that business. Okay? Not that you collected loan for a business and then you are waiting for your monthly salary to start repaying. That is not how it works. Okay, it has to come from the process of that loan, of that business. Then the last section is training details. Training institution. Sidron Nigeria Limited is a training institution. Sidron Nigeria Limited EDI. Training identification. On Saturday, we'll have our graduation and then you'll be issued with your certificate. Okay, so on the certificate, there is a code, a certificate number. That is what you complete there as a training identification number. Okay, type of training. Our training here is entrepreneurship training, how to manage small businesses. Okay, then duration. The duration is 5 days. Declaration. You're expected to declare here to the best of your ability that the information you are giving is correct. Okay, and then your signature. Right. So let's go back to our write-up. All right, so here, other sections to be completed. Purpose of the loan, we have already talked about. The startup or expansion, tenure 7 years, list of equipment and working capital, we've discussed that already. Source of repayment, we've talked about that. Business profit. Then the training details is training institution is Sidron Nigeria Limited EDI. Your training ID, you've already indicated, your certificate number. When you graduate, you'll be given the certificate and then you extract the number from there. Type of training is entrepreneurship training program, duration 5 days. Then of course, finally, the declaration. After completing the form, the application form, the last session is your declaration, confirming the information provided to the best of your knowledge, and you could be disqualified if any of the information provided is found to be false. Okay, so you have to be conscious about that. All right, then now the final section. Just earlier I was introducing this section to you. This is the very first time that we're presenting this form. Okay, it's called the NISA Microfinance Bank Interview and Assessment Form for AGNIS loan. It's a pre-loan approval interview, okay, form. Okay, all applicants, when you go for the interview, you'll be given a copy of this, the AGNIS loan application form, and this one, which you will be looking at now to complete. Okay, all along we'll only be discussing the AGNIS loan application form, but we have just been availed this one now, so we'll go through it together so that members are aware of it. Because when you go for the interview, you'll still be given this same form to complete so that you're familiar with it, okay? We have the template and we'll now go through it to guide participants on how to complete the form in the course of the interview. So this is how the content, but not as the exact design, but the content, okay? The logo of the bank is not here, but if not, every other thing else is as is on this template. Okay, so first and foremost, they want you to give your phone number, state of origin, LGA. So it's a NISA Microfinance pre-approval interview and assessment template for AGNIS loan. And so these are the inquiries and then the responses expected. First on the list is your names of beneficiary, expected to give your name, age of beneficiary, home address, name of business, the kind of business you want to do, business address if different from your home address. Okay, the NISA Microfinance account number. Like I said, at the end of this interview process with the bank, you will be given an application form to complete, account opening form to complete. When you do that, they'll give you the account NMFB account numbers, which you will be expected to complete. So if it's available, if it's not, leave it blank at that point. But when you complete the DC, you'll be given the form to complete. BVN, as stated on the form, we've talked about how important the BVN is. The EDI where you train, Sidron Nigeria Limited is your EDI. Duration of the training, you have to give them that duration. You have to be at the back of your mind, 5 days. Business sector, we've already looked at business sector, and then we've looked at business activity. So your sector could be agri, could be ICT, could be makeup, cosmetics, and things like that. Or it could be hospitality, could be health services, could be courier, logistics. All these are sectors. Business activity or subsector could be poultry, could be fisheries, could be tailoring, and all of those things. Okay, organic cream making, all those things fall under business sector, subsector, or activity. Is your business a startup existing? You let us know. The field for response is there. You write existing or startup. If it's existing, please state. Okay, this is where people normally get a little bit confused. Your total monthly sales. If you're already doing the business, you should be able to know how much you sell on a month-to-month basis. Okay, if you are in poultry, for example, your total monthly sales. Okay, if it's only eggs that you sell, you know the number of crates you sell in a month. Okay, if you sell like let's say you sell 10 crates in a month, you should, and then of course each crate you sell for 800 naira. But you calculate it, and you should be able to tell us how much you are able to sell in a month. Okay, 10 crates, 800. Let's say 10 crates by 800 naira on a month is 8,000 naira monthly sales. If it's beds and you're able to sell 10 beds in a month, and of course you sell a bed for 1,000 naira, then of course you'll be able to tell us that you sell on a monthly basis 10,000 naira per bed for a month. Okay, what are the expenses? The expenses that go into it, and the expenses of course include things like the cost of sales, salary, the rent, the cost of fees. All of those things go into it. Okay, if your expenses is higher than if your sales is higher than the expenses, then of course you know you are making profit. Okay, so if in a month you sell best 10,000 naira, and then the expenses you incur comes to like 6,000 naira, then of course you are making profits of like 4,000 naira. But if your expenses are higher, okay, in a month you spend over 10,000 or 12,000 naira to buy fees, to buy pay salaries, to pay for rent, and then your sales come to like 10,000 naira, then of course there is no profit there. All you are doing is deficit sales. Okay, so you please have to indicate whether you are making you're making profit or not, and that's how you are able to make that presentation. Have you conducted market survey to understand the market for the type of business? If yes, provide details. The feasibility studies which you undertook 2 days ago, I'm sure our facilitator talked to you about market survey, because if you want to do feasibility studies, one of the things that you definitely need to do is to do some market survey to find out whether that business is going to be viable in that environment, whether it's going to survive in that environment. Where it's not able to do that, then of course you know that there is bound to be a problem. Do you have off-takers for your produce, for your product or produce? If yes, provide lists of them. By off-takers, it means that if, for example, you are into rice production, an off-taker or onion, for example, or any of those kind of grains, an off-taker is somebody or a company or group of people that simply come to you in the farm there and buy off everything. Okay, most of the strategy used by in the rice industry today, in the rice farming industry today, is that most of the major millers have what they call outgrowers. Outgrowers are people that bring together and give hectares of land and then seedlings to farm. Okay, they provide them the land, they provide them the seedlings, they provide them the fertilizers, they provide them most access to water. Okay, their own is to come and do the planting and the grooming. And when it comes time for harvesting, by the time you harvest, that the millers will come as off-takers to buy it off you. So they take the trouble of you going to look for market to sell in the market or look for people who will buy them off you. No, they help you do that one. So if you have that kind of situation, you have off-takers, then of course you give the names. Even if you are in fashion design, for example, fashion and tailoring and fashion design, for example, there could be people, you could be sewing for a group of people who simply come, they tell you the designs, what they want, you come, they sew, and then they come and buy it off you. They are off-takers. If you have people like that, then you are asked here to provide the list of such people, okay? So item 16, are you aware of any possible risk that your business may encounter? If yes, provide. We've just done this SWOT analysis now, like you did in the previous, lecture on feasibility studies. And we'll discuss about threats. Threats are virtually the same thing as risk. So are there any risk? Okay, if you're going to poultry farming, are you aware of any risk within the environment, like in the area of banditries, of bandits of theft, or kidnappers coming to vandalize or rustle your cattle, or rustle your poultry farm to steal up your birds and eggs? If you are aware of such a risk, please, you'll be required here to indicate what those risks are, okay? And if you are aware of those risks, what are you doing to mitigate them? By mitigation, it means what are you doing to avoid them, okay? So if you are aware that, for example, in the poultry, that diseases are prevalent there, are you making arrangement for veterinary doctors to watch over, to come over and then cater for the day-old chicks on a regular basis? Or are you hiring security men to provide security for the farms? These are things I want to hear. What are you doing to mitigate those risk factors? Purpose of the loan, they indicated already. If it's a startup, it's to start a business. If it's already existing, of course, for expansion. Then the requested amount, you already know how much you're requesting. How long do you want the loan? Here you tell them how long you want the loan. Statutorily, they say it's 7 years, but you could want it maybe for just 3 or 5 years, you indicate. So what is the grace period, moratorium? Is there a moratorium for the loan? The bank itself is giving a moratorium of 1 year, okay? But if you want, you can ask for longer. You can say 18 months. And then it's, like it says here, it's business specific and may vary. So if you ask for like 18 months and then the kind of business you are doing, the bank will say, no, for this kind of business, it's lower than that, and they will indicate. List costs of each required equipment. Okay, we've already looked at the required equipment, and then we've looked at the working capital. So here, again, you will be expected to repeat it. So it's important that when you are going for that interview, to go with the agric, let's talk to this guy. You'll be expected to go with this, the agric loan application form, where you will now be able to reproduce the list of equipment and then the amount of money that the amount you are assigned for each of them. The same also with the list of any amount of working capital. You'll also be expected to optimize the working capital and then the amount against them. Okay, so your own responsibility stops at item 23. Item 24 and 25 and 26 are the responsibility of the bank, and they're going to extract that information. They're going to extract that information from what you have completed. So then name and signature of interviewer, and then date of interview and the branch. So that is how that form is composed. So that are the expectations. Okay, so that is about that form. So thank you very much. We'll come to the end of this paper. Thank you very much for giving us your time, for listening. So if you have any questions, we'll take your questions now with the remaining time, and then we'll close for the day. The day is well spent. Thank you very much. All right. So open the class, and then we'll take questions now. Let's open the class. Start my video. All right, Matthew, I can see I highlighted. 2 of you left now. Yeah, Matthew, any question? Any question, Matthew? I know Aluko is far away. You can't hear from him.
Yeah, sir.
Yep. Go ahead.
Like the business plan, this calculation of item. Unlike me, I pay 20,000 naira for everything, 20,000 naira. So I don't know. Are we still doing to do the calculation?
No, I did explain
Because the
earlier.
person I get my phone.
Sorry?
Can you hear me, sir?
Go ahead.
Yeah. I said regarding the business plan, you
Yeah.
said we should write down the item and everything so that we will know the total and this amount of loan we are going for. So the question now is
yeah. Mm-hmm.
the question is from the initial inquiry I made, he said the bank will be the one that will design our business plan, then send it to us before the interview. So I don't know whether, because there are those that will be doing their business plan by themselves, and he said he always said there are people that will be doing the business plan by themselves. Then if you pay 5,000 naira, that the bank will design your business plan for you. So I don't know whether, because I paid 20, he said the requirement is 20,000 naira and I paid. So I don't know whether I'm still doing the business plan, like calculating all the item I need for my loan before going for the interview.
I hear you, but it seems to be misunderstanding all of the things we've been discussing all this while. Okay, yeah, if we're doing the business plan for you, we'll have the responsibility. It's not the bank that's doing the business plan for you. You paid us 10,000 naira for the training and 10,000 for business plan. Of that 10,000 naira, we are paying the bank 5,000 naira to access their portal to do the business plan. Okay, that's what we are doing. But you have to complete the forms for us. You have to complete the forms for us to be able to generate that data. Okay, the forms which we just looked at now, you are the one who is supposed to complete it. We won't complete that form for you. All we do is to guide you. Okay, and we're advising that when you complete that form, please keep a copy, because this last form that we looked at will not be there with you in the bank to complete that one for you. That will be a responsibility. You'll be the one to complete that particular form, this last form that we looked at. Okay, but for you to be able to complete it with seamlessly and without any trouble, you also have to be the person to complete the loan application form. You complete them and you return them to us. The first two forms we looked at, you have to complete it and return it for us. We'll prepare your business plan for you. But when you go for the interview, you'll be given that same loan application form. And then this last one that we looked at, okay, the pre-approval interview and assessment form. You have to complete those two forms for them in the bank. So you should be familiar with them. That's what I'm saying basically, okay?
Right.
So you have to complete that form. Whether we are doing the business plan for you or not, you have to complete that form. And that is the situation. Is that okay?
I understand.
You understand now?
Mm.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, Aluko, if you have any question, if you can hear me, you can drop it on the chat box so that we can respond to you. Okay? All right. So having said that, Matthew, if you don't have any question again, I could have left. The others, I believe, on YouTube and other sources. So we'll close for the day. I want to thank you immensely for spending your time with us throughout today. Thank you very much. We'll reconvene again tomorrow morning for the last paper for the week. That is business law, where we'll be looking at registration requirements and compliance requirements of doing business in Nigeria. Our barrister will be on hand to do that with you. All right, so having said that, let me say thank you once again, and have a wonderful day ahead of you.